Welcome back, everyone. This is episode 7 of the Average Fan Podcast. I am Ben, and I am joined as always by my co host, Michael.
Hello, everybody. It is the co-host Michael.
It is the co host, Michael. We are once again recording late at night. I don't know how you felt, Michael, but I kind of feel like this last episode kind of felt a little bit off, not in any bad way, but like something about us just being tired. I feel like it makes us know ball better.
Something like that. It definitely feels right. Being at night,
Just
especially this
the
October.
serenading sound of your voice just in my ears, like just something about that. I just I need it at like late at night, you know.
Yeah, nothing's better than a good late night chemistry when the lights get low. My
Hmm.
lights are on.
Yeah, I had some.
I'm with you there,
When I
buddy. I
first
love it.
started recording, like I used to have it be more intimate lighting, and then people were telling me, "Oh, the lighting sucks." So now I have my big overhead light on. Now it's a little bit less steamy on my end, but I guess I gotta give the people what they want. The people who know best, I suppose.
Yeah, but between you and me, we're still a sauna.
We're still on. We're gonna get hot with our takes today. We had
Yeah.
a hot week of football,
We had a very interesting week.
and we want to talk about some hot and steamy ball knowledge, ball knowers.
Ball knowledge.
Thursday night football, Pittsburgh Steelers, Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Flacco laid his nuts on the Steelers defense. Michael, what is your take on this game?
This is a good old fashioned Unk Bowl. This was not. There's not one person in the world that believed not only the Cincinnati Bengals would win, but the game would play out like it did in general. This was a classic 2010 shootout between the Aaron Rodgers led Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Joe Flacco led Cincinnati Bengals.
Which tell that to someone from 10 years ago and they would not have believed us.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. This is just such an alternate reality that nobody. I mean, shit. You could have told me 3 years ago. I would not believe you. This is this is crazy. You could tell this is like an old school touchdown, like an old school throwing shootout because the Bengals got their two star wide receivers the ball surprisingly, and you see tight ends getting a lot of catching touchdowns on the Steelers. That doesn't really happen a ton, especially when each tight end on your roster gets a touchdown. Um, which is, I love the big men getting their scores, but the wide receivers on the other team also get like they're finally doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah. I mean this was just a classic Thursday night game. I really enjoyed this. I watched a good part of it. I actually picked up Joe Flacco this week to fill in for
Really
my quarterback on the bye week. So fingers crossed that the Flack man can keep up what he's doing.
deliver the flak attack.
The Flack attack, that's it. But if we want to talk about belt to ass, these next two games are kind of the definition of it. And this is interesting. We have our England game. Matthew Stafford throws for 5 touchdowns. The Jaguars outgain the Rams, and it is a blowout. You don't often see that.
No, last time surprisingly that something like this happened was week like 2 against the Falcons. Rest in peace. Devontae Adams has a hat trick. For those of you that don't know what a hat trick is, that is just getting 3 scores. I think it originated from soccer, but like he cooked. I think he had not a ton of yards because most of his catches were like 1 yard catches. But touchdowns are touchdowns. It is what it is. Travis Hunter's looking like a real wide receiver, but not really. I mean, he got his first career touchdown. Go him, 34-yard pass. But that I mean, he really just got yardage. The Jags offense has stalled out these past like 3 weeks. So hopefully they can get back on track.
Yeah, they gotta. I mean, I think they just need to kind of settle in as a team. I don't think it's time to panic yet, but I mean, Trevor Lawrence played pretty well. I just think it's a matter of coaching. I think it's a matter of game planning and just kind of don't let the momentum slip away from you. And I think that for a team like the Jaguars, especially with the losing culture they kind of have had, it can be really easy to get that mental spiral. And just for any Jags fans that might be watching, let us know what you think about what's going on. But I don't think you need to panic yet. But I think if you don't clean things up in literally the next week, maybe two if next week is better, then you can start worrying. But still give it another week because they've been playing well. They did beat the Chiefs.
I think with the Jags specifically, once you hit 400, especially if you hit 400 within the next, or 500, sorry, I'm thinking more wins. If you hit 500 within the next two games, you have a lot of cause for concern, because that's 3 straight losses. And you don't want that to happen. It's just you got to do better. I think their beginner's luck kind of quelled out, and now they need to start finding their true identity. Yeah, this next game we have here is another
belt to ass
shitter game. That's the only way you can put it. This 1:00 segment of games was really bad in terms of fair and fun football to watch, unless you're a fan of them. This is the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Las Vegas Raiders, a 31-0 shutout thrashing. I think it's the 3rd or 4th shutout of the year. From my recollection, I've been watching football for about 10 years now. This many shutouts, especially in like a short amount of time, is concerning. I guess it's a big defensive league nowadays, which I'm a fan of defense, but so many shutouts. I'm fine with like low scoring games, but shutouts is kind of crazy. Though I do love a good shutout when I'm the fan of the team that's shutting somebody out. But
yeah,
it is the Raiders that they're against, so it's not like it's a crazy, like, this is a predictable outcome. Chiefs thrash. They show why they're still good and get the win at home.
Yeah, I mean this was, I'm not gonna say I'm surprised, but I do feel like this is showing that this year the league kind of is a tale of two. I wouldn't even say it's half, but the bottom quarter of teams is just truly terrible, to the point where the battle for the first overall pick might be could be an 0-17 Jets team and a 1-16 Dolphins team, or 2-16 Dolphins team, I guess. Like,
I didn't even
the
think about it like that.
The bottom is so bad that I feel as though even mid teams are kind of more scrappy. And again, we're kind of getting into the point of the year where teams might be starting to pull away. We're gonna see who the real contenders are, but still, we know already who the ass bottom of the league teams are, which Jets, Titans, and Raiders, I think, are the 3 worst right now. I can't think. Oh, I guess Dolphins as well, but like
Browns probably too, even though they have
Browns are more scrappy, but I agree. I just think the Raiders have a win over the Titans and a win over the, I don't even know who their other win is. Let me look.
I want to say it was like the Patriots.
It might be it was over the Patriots the first game of the year.
Yeah.
So yeah. So it's like,
I mean that's sweet.
They play the Jaguars next week. That's probably a loss. They play the Broncos. That's probably a loss. Cowboys loss. Browns loss. Like, I literally can't see a single team the rest of the year where I think they even have a shot of winning.
Yeah, which is crazy.
So this just truly a dominant performance by the Chiefs. They're starting to look like they're returning to form, which is scary for the rest of us. But Raiders, you really need to commit to doing a rebuild. But for this next game, another shit bowl between the 1-6 Dolphins and the 2-5 Browns. I wouldn't say I was concerned that this game would be close, because I remember picking the Browns to win. But this just was not close at all. Mike McDaniel's going to get fired. Tua Tagovailoa is cooked. And I feel like the only good thing on this team is Devon Achane. And again, Dolphins outgamed the Browns, but they had 4 turnovers, 3 picks by Tua, and I mean, you just can't play a game like that if you want to win.
Oddly enough, Tua got benched for Quentin Ewers, rookie quarterback out of Texas, for I think the last like quarter of the game. This is just a real bad showing from Miami. I mean, maybe I just didn't know or follow them properly, but this team is not much different than the team that was good like 2 years ago. So the regression here is insane. People have just seemed to figure out Mike McDaniel's. You give Dylan Gabriel his first career win. He throws 13 for 18 and 116 yards, no touchdowns. Pitiful. But Quinshaw Judkins butchered his name. 3 touchdowns. Beautiful.
Very. The Browns are showing that they have had a very good draft class this year.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe I want to give it to Dylan Gabriel, but Judkins, and the rest of them, definitely not bad. Obviously, Judkins is cooking.
They had
on all
Mason
scales of it.
Graham. Yeah, Mason Graham, Judkins. I think there was another pick on the defense they had. I know Dylan Gabriel. I know they have Dylan Gabriel and Shador, which is kind of, we don't know about them yet, but at least their first 3 or 4 picks seem to have gone very well so far.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you. But with Miami, it's just this is pitiful. Cleveland, good on them to finally score more than 15 points. Um, Very admirable. Great uniforms. But it's the same thing that you said about the Raiders with Miami. They reasonably they should just implode, start rebuilding now. Fire Mike McDaniel's, just build up for the draft pick. Because it's only going to get worse from here. You don't know where Tyreek wants to go after this, if he's going to come back or anything like that. And you don't really have a lot of star power on your team. You have 2 players on offense, maybe Tua, if that's how you feel about him still. And then you have maybe 2 players on defense that can really get you quality. So you got to do it now while the price is still high. Waiting will only just mess you up. For the Browns, this is a glimpse into the future, barring something that the Browns normally do. But other than that, it's just a normal
Yeah, I
shitter
think
game.
that the Browns are going to be more scrappy than we thought. I think that they might. I'm not going to go on a limb and say like a winning record or even close to it, but I would be surprised if they got 6 or 7 wins this year.
Yeah, probably 7-10.
Which compared to like last year, I think is enough to prevent. Why am I forgetting who's the coach of the Browns? Do you remember? I normally know this. Yeah, Kevin Stefanski. And that's the thing is I could see his face, and as soon as you say it, I remember, but I can never remember it. But again, going kind of into this next game, which is the Patriots versus the Titans, a point that I'm just thinking about with this Browns and Dolphins game is teams having to watch a piece that they had, whether it is in the front office or on the field, going to a different team and succeeding. So we'll get to the Buccaneers game, but the Browns having to watch Baker Mayfield start before this week 5-1, and then the Titans firing Mike Vrabel, and now being in New England and coming back and having Drake May miss 2 of his 23 passes and looking like an MVP candidate in his sophomore season. Which, I mean, I don't have much to say about this game. This happened as expected. The Patriots look legit. The Titans are just terrible. I mean, truly the only good part of this team I can think of is, was it Chimere Dike? He looks good. Cam Ward again, it's hard to tell if he's good with that terrible offensive line, but truly there's really nothing going for this team.
Yeah, like you said, it's Drake May is playing off his like out of his mind. I mean, he's cooking them. I mean, they're a real passing threat for once. Ramondre Stevenson looks like a rushing threat. Their offense is thriving. Chassion, who I think that's the pick that came from Arizona. He's finally getting. He got 2 sacks that game. I think that's the most he's ever gotten. I don't know how many sacks he normally gets, but from what I remember, he was like a hybrid that drops into coverage and stuff like that. So good on this team. Stuff is finally swinging right. I mean, it is against the Tennessee Titans. Let's make that clear. And the Titans did look at the beginning, it was tied real close to halftime. Before New England had an eventual 40-yard pass go for the touchdown, and then since then it was just two quick scores in the third quarter, and then that's all she wrote. So you don't like that they stalled out right there at the end, but it's not like the Titans were really doing much outside of that either. Um, Titans are also in a state of limbo. It's actually astounding now that you're looking now that you said it, how bad teams are. At least like the mid teams are still like they're far and above the bad teams. Usually the mid teams are one tier down. It feels like the mid teams are, or sorry, one tier above, but the mid teams are now two tiers above. Is what it feels like. I mean, I would never pick like the Bengals are a mid team. I like if they face the Titans, they face the Raiders.
It's
They
a
face the
blowout. Yeah,
Jets.
it's not going to be a
I'm
close
not. I
game.
don't. It's not going to be a close game because at every aspect of the field, the other team is better than you. So I don't know if that's a normal structure thing that they need to fix, but regardless, good win by the Patriots. They're starting, like you said, looking like a real front runner on a lot of things. So good for them. This next game here is a game I'm pretty happy about. I'm not gonna lie. This is the Chicago Bears versus the New Orleans Saints. That's another Saints loss. Big Saints hater over here. It's just how it is. Chris Olave finally did something for the first time in 3 years. Um, Good for him. We love that for him. Spencer Rattler threw 3 picks. Don't love that for him. I like it, but I never wish too bad on a singular
Uh,
player.
yeah. My biggest takeaway from what I'm looking, and again, I didn't watch this game, is just that Caleb Williams isn't really playing well right now. And 172 yards and an interception, that's not how you win games. And I know right now the Bears defense is forcing a lot of turnovers, which is good. But something I was seeing, and I want to know what your take is on this, Michael. When a team is forcing an absurd number of turnovers, that inevitably will come back to earth a little bit. And which it's like, it's not to say their defense is bad, but the only reason that they're winning these games is because Spencer Rattler throws 3 interceptions. It's because I don't remember who they, or when they play Geno Smith, it's like 2 or 3 interceptions. What happens when they play a team like the Packers or a team like the Lions where they don't turn the ball over that much? How does this offense do anything if the defense can't kind of keep their head above the water to win the game?
Yeah, that's a beautiful way that you put that. You can see literally they're 4-2 right now, but this 4-2 might be completely false. You look at the losses. You have the Vikings here, who, this is JJ McCarthy's first start. And even then, he still comes back to win it. As long as you just don't turn the ball over, it doesn't matter. Next game, they get dogged 52-21 to the line. So, looking at the stats for this game, some stats that stand out to me. You have those 4 turnovers. Respect to the defense as always. But to me, these do look more like a Spencer Rattler 3 interception game versus a Bears defense that forced 3 interceptions. You can look at that where it says penalties, 10 penalties for 92 yards to the Saints 5 for 30. And then you go down one more stat line, 3 for 12 on third downs. That's horrible. Maybe they just kept on getting first downs, but 3 for 12 that's not a good look, and you have almost 100 yards in penalties, while the other team, though they didn't do good on third down, penalties are still low. So even with an extra 92 yards, the Saints cannot do nothing. That is more over a fact that the Saints are bad versus the Bears are good, if that helps reassure your point.
Yeah. No, and that, again, it's just, I don't like the Bears because they're a division rival. I know you understand that. I just feel like the Bears are on a 4-game win streak, so I don't want to, like, for any Bears fans watching this, I'm not in any way saying your team is bad. I definitely can tell that they're better than last year, better coaching, better playing, just everything is better. But I do think, especially with it being a Dennis Allen revenge game, I just think that you need to be prepared for this team to come back down to earth. And now I want to clarify, coming back down to earth for this team could be anywhere from, 7 to 10, having a 7-10 record to a 10-7 record. And that's already going to be better than last year. And I would hope that you're preparing yourself for either of those two. And hopefully you can be plan for the best, but also just acknowledge you're not going to win the next, you know, 10 straight games this season. It just doesn't, that's not how it works. But going on to our next game, which is kind of another stinker in what you were talking about earlier with how mid teams still feel tiers above bad teams. It's the Panthers and the Jets. And I know the Panthers now are above 500 for the first time in several years. I watched part of this game. I think I was at the gym. And even though Bryce Young still is throwing for less than 170 yards each week, and even though the game looks close, it really wasn't. I mean, you have Justin Fields throwing for 46 yards in the first half of the game. That's for an average of 4 yards per completion, with Breece Hall just going 40 yards the entire game. Getting benched for Tyrod Taylor, who then completes 4 more passes to throw for almost 100 more yards. This team is just bad. There's really no other way to put it. I know their defense is playing well, but you can't win games with Justin Fields or Tyrod Taylor playing the way that they're playing. And I kind of just feel bad for the young players on this team. I saw a video of, I think he was at least 10 to 12. It was like this young kid being interviewed after the game, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I was born into this team and I hate this team." And it's just, I kind of felt bad because I was like, yeah, I can't imagine just being a Jets fan, because you go into every week just being like, okay, well, I don't even want to win because I want to get the first overall pick. But then it's like, is this front office even competent enough to get a good first overall pick? So I don't know. That's really all I have to say about this game. It's not surprising. And again, I could maybe see the Jets pulling off 2 wins this year if the Bills rest their starters at the end of the year, but that's it.
That's so funny. Yeah, I don't. Even the owner is talking about their low caliber quarterback situation, which is, you don't want to hear that from your owner. I don't know who's gonna start for the Jets against Cincinnati next week. It doesn't matter, to be honest with you. Breece Hall is supposed to be this 5-tool running back that can do it all. He should be on par with Bijan Robinson and Christian McCaffrey, and yet that man is a constant letdown. I don't know if it's because he truly just sucks, or the coaching just are too stupid to figure out how to use him, but nothing about him is consistent. And all of their good players have to do so much to the point where, I mean, they're just getting injured all the time. Garrett Wilson's out here. He didn't play at all. I can't remember. They just don't really have any star players, to be honest with you. But is it a part also because they share the same turf with New York? Is the turf, is the turf bad for you? I would think so, but this was just not a good game. You have 1 touchdown to Xavier Legette. This is a forgettable game.
Very forgettable.
Much like the other ones in this 1 p.m. slate. So I wouldn't be super happy with this. The Panthers fans are probably happy that they're 4-3, above 500. Just got to stay above 500, see what you can do.
Mm-hmm.
I think they'll probably drop under after a while, so let's hope they don't get their heads up. But I just hope good team or bad teams can start to really level the playing field again. It's harder and harder to say any given Sunday because
sometimes, yeah, just for this team though, yeah.
It's not even there's just the bottom.
Yeah, for the bottom 3 or 4 teams.
Bottom 16, dude. I mean, I feel like it's when you look at 2 teams, you can legitimately within 5 seconds know who's gonna win, and you'll probably be off 95% of the time. I mean, that's why I think you and I are doing so well on these picks, is because it's predictable. You know how bad teams are going to play. and the good teams know how to take advantage of that. It's just what it is. Um, but yeah, good for Carolina, bad for the Jets. You know, well, thank God we're done with that 1 p.m. Huh?
But for our next game, we have the Eagles playing Minnesota. This game was a lot closer than I thought it would be. I did pick the Vikings to win, which I think it's fair. I know there's like a dropped pass at the end of the game or something, and you know, overall, the Vikings played well enough to win. They let Jalen Hurts go like Super Saiyan on them, which I mean
Doesn't happen a lot.
doesn't happen a lot, but when it does, you don't really stand a chance.
Yeah, no, definitely not. This is, of course, the game I sat AJ Brown in my fantasy league. Fortunate it didn't matter. I started him for Mike Evans. We'll talk about what happened to Mike Evans later. Um, I mean, AJ Brown goes crazy. He has 37 and a 29-yard touchdown pass, or 26 yards, 2 touchdowns, obviously. Um, the Eagles' offense finally woke up. Not Saquon Barkley though. He's still slumbering, waiting for the winter to settle in. Um, so
Yeah.
I mean, that's great for him. I watched a good bit of this game. Carson Wentz was hit so much. I don't know how many sacks they had, but Carson Wentz took a gosh darn beating, dog.
Putting his life on
I
the line for that team, bro.
literally, and I mean, there were some of these hits that they were just not calling. That like, you look at that and you're like, okay, that's kind of roughing the passer. Um, he got hit eight times with 2 sacks. Um, that's like, not saying that they're whatever. It's on the refs to call that stuff, but I mean that I don't know what's going on with Minnesota. I think JJ McCarthy should be good now. I guess Carson Wentz just won the job. Um, I don't know. I don't know what they do from here. I mean, they have a good team, defense and offense. They just need a good, competent quarterback. The Eagles need to do this again next week. That's all there is to it for both of them, to be honest with you. So we'll just move on to this next game. This is Indianapolis versus uh, Los Angeles Chargers. 38-24. The Indianapolis Colts are a legitimate Super Bowl contender. I'm gonna say the Colts are they're scoring on everybody. I mean, they're giving everybody the business. This is a masterclass by Daniel Jones and Jonathan Taylor, like always. I think I saw something about the Colts being like the most efficient team scoring wise this century, which is that's crazy. There you can't do nothing about that. Um, and you even have Justin Herbert playing a bad game in the beginning, mounting a decent comeback, throwing for 420 yards, 3 touchdowns. He does have 2 picks. Um, a tight end I've never heard of, backup obviously. He's getting 164 receiving yards and a touchdown. His name is Gadsden. Probably
I
butchered
picked
that.
him. I picked him up this week.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did.
Nice. Um, so this is good on them for continuing to do what they're doing. Their defense is playing lights out. Their offense is also playing lights out. You had a hat trick by Jonathan Taylor, 3 touchdowns. So, wow, I'm honestly surprised and impressed, and I give so much respect to the Colts for what they're doing right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think you pretty much covered everything. I know the Chargers are hurt right now, but they've kind of fallen from grace. They were an undefeated team, and now they're just dropping games left and right. The Colts are legitimately scary. They're one drop pass away from being 7-0 and not really looking back. Tyler Warren, I will just add that I think Tyler Warren is looking like a potential offensive rookie of the year.
Yeah, you're right.
But yeah, so for our next game, and this was a crazy game. I watched part of the ending of this. We have the New York Giants choking away a a lead that is almost insurmountable to the Denver Broncos, who are scoring 33 points in one quarter. I just think that this is just like the most Giants game I've ever seen. You shut out Denver for 3 straight quarters. You're up what, like it was 20.
Dude, I think they were dead up like 30.
Yeah, dead up 30. Jackson Dart throws a back-breaking interception, and then the Broncos come roaring back and score like 5 touchdowns, and I guess 4 touchdowns and a couple field goals, but still like the equivalent of that in 1 quarter and win the game by 1 point. I mean, this to me, this doesn't make the Broncos look good. This just makes the Giants look bad, at least badly, like poorly coached. I think Brian Dable just needs to go because they obviously have the talent to win this game, but just decisions, mishaps on their team. It just, I feel bad for Giants fans because I couldn't imagine watching my team. It'd still be in the fourth quarter. For me, it's like, oh, it's still the fourth quarter. Like, yeah, they're making a comeback, but realistically, they're not going to put up 30 points on us. We're not going to miss 2 extra points and still lose this game. But no, they managed to do that.
Yeah, dude. This is wildly improbable, very impressive. I'm trying to look at this. 96% that New York was 99.3 is the highest number actually. That New York was going to win this game, and then it just crazy downfall. Uh, Dude, like you said, I don't know. I've not been a big Brian Dable fan either. I thought what he was doing with Scatterbo was pretty good. And how Dart has been playing hasn't been too bad. But if this isn't a fireable offense, I mean, his seat must be hot, hot. I mean, they're 2-5. Their offense isn't even that bad. Imagine if they have Malik Neighbors. So, like, I mean, like you said, this is really showing like the weakness in the New York Giants. Denver Broncos just somehow cling to life. Good on Bo Nix. For once, even though he almost had 50% completion percentage. I hate to give Sean Payton his flowers, but this is probably a really good coached team to pull off a win like this. So, props to them. This is a crazy improbable comeback. I mean, you're coming back from a .7 chance of victory.
They didn't give up, and as much as I've seen, I think that Sean Payton isn't really coaching this team very well. I don't really believe in this Denver offense, and I mean the Broncos made the Giants offense look good too. So their defense also wasn't playing very well, but the Broncos can't keep going into games having to come to life in the last 15 minutes of a game to win by like 2 points. You don't win games consistently that by coming back from 2 scores. Eventually it's going to stop working. And so this team has the talent, it does have the potential, but Sean Payton, you need to stop calling these plays because they are not working.
Moving on to this next game, we have Arizona Cardinals versus the Green Bay Packers. Another great Jacoby Brissett game. 279, 2 touchdowns. But nevertheless, this goes to the Green Bay Packers who get the victory. Josh Jacobs, 2 touchdowns. You love seeing that. More notably, Micah Parsons getting 3 sacks this game. He's finally starting to settle in, especially on the road. That was huge. But it was a 4-point game. This, even though the Cardinals are 2-5, the Cardinals I would still say are just a really unlucky mid team, because they're going scrap for scrap with a lot of decent to mid teams as well. But this is good on the Packers to finally find something good. Their offense didn't play too well outside of Josh Jacobs though, but it is what it is. You take these wins. Your defense played phenomenally. Even though they let up 23 points, you live with that. They came up when it was needed, and good teams find ways.
Yeah. My biggest takeaway from this is like what you're saying is I don't think the Cardinals are a bad team. Like you said, they're just kind of mid. Honestly, Jacoby Brissett is kind of playing better than Kyler Murray, which is, I'd be worried. As a Falcons fan, just because, or a Ravens fan. Fuck, dude.
That was crazy.
A Cardinals fan. I'd be worried as a Cardinals fan because I'm looking at receiving. Trey McBride, 10 receptions on 13 targets. Zay Jones, 2 receptions on 2 targets. And then you have Marvin Harrison with 2 receptions on 6 targets. And then for the rest of them, he is by far the worst catch percentage on targets that he's gotten. And I'm not trying to like be hard on Marvin Harrison, because I understand it can be hard and drops are an issue that can be fixed either schematically or just through practice, but something is going on there. And on top of this, with the Packers side of things, they keep barely scraping by against teams like the Cardinals. And without Micah Parsons on this team, they would not have won this game. And I know they started the season hot, but I'm looking at like their receptions. They have Romeo Dobbs as the wide receiver 1, and then Tucker Kraft, and then you have your rookie Matthew Golden as number 3, and he's supposed to be wide receiver 1. And so I'm just kind of confused what this team is trying to accomplish when your entire offense runs through Josh Jacobs and your entire defense runs through Micah Parsons. What happens if they get hurt? What happens if they have an off game? What happens if the teams are able to scheme shutting these players down? I feel like you can't win games that way when you only have one weapon on each side of the ball.
Once you knock out their one receiving threat, it's really, no man's land. You don't really know who to throw to. So, I mean, that's a great point.
For the next game, we have the Cowboys absolutely obliterating the Commanders. I feel bad for Jaden Daniels. I know his mom was kind of saying how he's kind of getting the Robert Griffin III treatment, where I think the Commanders are rushing him out before he's ready, because Jaden Daniels is a good quarterback, and I know no one is saying he's not. But truly, Commanders fans, and I don't think fans even disagree, but even to the coaching staff, I would rather have a season where we don't make the playoffs in order for our star key pieces to get better, and plus you get better draft capital to keep building this team, because the Commanders are no way our Super Bowl caliber right now. They got destroyed by the Eagles in the playoffs last year. They got incredibly lucky against the Lions. And I just think, don't rush Daniels back. Take wins where you can get them, but also just understand that there's still so much that can happen in the future if you just accept that maybe this season we're going to be hurt, but we can protect Jaden Daniels, because if he's this good consistently, he can be here for 15 years. And if he stays that good, then you have 15 years where you could potentially win a Super Bowl, but don't let these injuries destroy his career.
I think this was an issue last week. It was an issue against the Falcons. This is just a big issue. It's an old defense. You're not going to be able to stop a high-powered offense when your average age is close to 30. It's not. It's just not probable. Nobody wishes it was like that, but I mean that's just how age works. To be honest with you, about Jaden Daniels, took the words right out of my mouth. You're gonna get him career-ending injuries if you play him like this. You can end up like Robert Griffin, end up like Derrick Rose. Nobody wants that. Let the man sit. Let the man do what he needs to do. Let him heal, and then when he comes back, he can start leading your team to wins. But you throw him out there early, he might help a little, but he can also easily completely ruin it. So they just need to chill out with him. If he needs to take another week, let him take another week. Defense, they need to look for the future and either start bringing in some young pieces, shipping some old pieces out, or just really gain a lot of draft capital to kind of bolster your team, to learn from these vets while you have them. In terms of the Dallas Cowboys, their high-powered offense, the defense let up 22 points on a struggling Washington offense, who I'm pretty sure they have 11 for 118 yards and penalties, but I think a lot of those were false starts and stuff like that, so self-inflicted wounds. So hopefully the defense can continue to improve, but I don't really see it because they're just not doing that well. But it doesn't really matter when your offense scores 44 every game. I did see a video about this game. This is guy, and he has one of those buzzball, like big buzzballs. And if you don't know what buzzball is, it's an alcoholic drink that very high percentage tastes really, really bad. And he said every time there is a score change, not a touchdown, a score change, he's gonna fill up this little like extra shot glass and just it's like a cup, but it's not a full cup. And he's gonna chug it. For those of you that don't know, when you have a 44-22 game, you usually have a lot of lead or score changes. Just in the first quarter alone, you have one, two, three, four, five. That's five down. Second quarter, you add three more, and then you have four more in the second half. That guy started out the video with him just power vomiting in the toilet. And then it cuts to, the whole video. He makes it to halftime. He blacks out, throws up, wakes back up, and it's halfway through the Falcons game Sunday night. So that's tough. And that was a really funny video to watch. I'm glad he's okay. But yeah, so good on Dallas. Like I said earlier, Washington needs to figure it out. Moving on to, unfortunately, the saddening game that I had to suffer through. This is our Sunday night football game in San Francisco with the Atlanta Falcons and the San Francisco 49ers. Most of you've probably watched it. This ends 20-10 against with the San Francisco 49ers pulling out the victory. It wasn't a horrible game. It was a one-score game for a lot of it. Second half, we didn't really rush with Bijan. Like, we just kind of gave up. And I hate when
Do you
that
think
stuff
that
happens.
the reason that these games are happening is more of a player issue or a coaching issue?
It's a coaching issue. We've kind of like, as a team, we've kind of like, or as a fan base, I should say, we've been kind of critical over Raheem Morris because he has like a laissez-faire approach to like fundamental things, time management. That screwed us over in the Bucks game. Getting our players prepared in general, that screwed us over in the Panthers game. You have a decent set where you figure things out. And then, you get lucky against the Bills, and they are the ones who weren't prepared for you. And you come straight into here to a San Francisco 49ers defense that is almost completely like different than the week prior. They have so many injuries, a lot of no names, just like our defense, but they just lights out. This is an experienced game. Kyle Shanahan just outclassed every inch of this game. Christian McCaffrey has a crazy game, while we were forced to throw with Penix, who's been struggling. Can't throw over the middle, and folds under pressure. So our defense played well, which is always nice to see, even though they got 20 points. Zach Harrison got the sole sack of our game. He's now leading the team with like 5. Love that, but this is a disappointing game. We got to hope that Raheem Morris can learn to coach his players better, and hopefully Michael Penix can stop seeing ghosts, learn to throw at the middle, figure these things out. These are stuff that it would help to have 3 more games on your belt with the preseason. But we just got to play with the cards are dealt. If you don't get it out too soon, you're still going to feel this at the end of the season, and that could be playoff implications that you just lose.
Getting into our doubleheader Monday night games. Personally, my favorite game of the week, Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Detroit Lions. This game was crazy. Michael, I know we were texting during it, and I was kind of mad. I'm not gonna lie, for like part of it, just because it was one of those games where the Lions were clearly outplaying the Bucks, but they still were making enough mistakes that the Buccaneers could have won the game for at least part of it. And those are just really frustrating. If it wasn't for a Jahmyr Gibbs 80-yard touchdown run, we probably wouldn't have won this game. Or no, let me take that back. We would have won this game, but it would have been a lot closer. I was seeing without the points that Jahmyr Gibbs gave us, it would have been a 9-10 game. And that's not fair to the team, because that means other things would have happened if those plays hadn't happened. But the Detroit offense, surprisingly, I don't think is the strength of this team, because we had a bunch. I literally didn't know half of the people playing on defense. Our entire starting secondary was out. We were on second or even third stringers who came in, had 12 pass deflections, an interception, and held Baker Mayfield to 28 out of 50 and basically prevented them from winning. We held the rushing attack to 40 yards total, which, I mean, I just think that this defense is going crazy. And I mean, I'd rather have an elite defense and just a good offense that has flashes and streaky potential to be elite, because it's so much easier to have a team where it's like, okay, yeah, maybe our offense is having an off day, but we're holding them to 9 points. Then, oh yeah, our offense is putting up 40 points, but our defense will allow 35. So if our offense just messes up a little bit, we're over. So, I would like to know what you think about this, Michael, but I personally think this is one of the best wins of the season. Baker Mayfield was an MVP candidate coming into this game and after this, and I know he was missing. I know Mike Evans was out, but like after the first or second quarter, still, the Lions surprised me.
Yeah, dude. This was this was an interesting game to watch. I watched the first half. I'm just gonna read you the second quarter. That's it. I'm just gonna end you how the drives ended. Okay, it's gonna start with Tampa Bay, and then it's gonna go, one then the other. Obviously, Tampa punt, 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 touchdown, punt, punt, fumble, missed field goal, interception, interception, field goal. Those five, I think, happened within those last five happened within like 2 minutes of game clock. That's crazy. If that that's probably when, at least Tampa thought they were still in it. You were up 14-0, so, and then subsequently 14-3. Other than that, I mean, it was just a good thrashing after that first touchdown in the third quarter for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. After that, it was just nothing. I love to see division rival fall. It was unfortunately a pitiful showing outside of Jahmyr Gibbs on your offense and that one Amon-Ra St. touchdown in the beginning. So, if you just your team needs to figure out, how, we gotta stop ending our drives and punts, start turning them into at least field goals. Then I think you guys are gonna be set up good. You usually figure that stuff out, especially by the end of the year. You're scoring a lot. For Tampa Bay, it's just unlucky. That was like if you don't know, Mike Evans went for a big catch, double covered him. He has to lay out, and I mean, I tell you what, he had the catch. That was his catch, but probably the back right corner of his head smacks the ground. That is a very dangerous spot for you to hit your head on the ground at full speed, full force. And it was just, he was out. He was completely out. And then the moment they got to him, it was a clear sign of a major concussion. You see him walking to the sidelines. He cannot open his eyes. Said sign of concussion. It took him a while to stand up, find his balance. Same thing as before. He also cleanly broke his collarbone on the shoulder he landed on. So he's probably out for the year. Your remaining wide receivers that are healthy are Emeka Mbuka. Obviously, I fucked it up. And then you have Tez Johnson, Sterling Shepard. That's your three. You have one good wide receiver. Tez Johnson's playing all right, but he's still young. Sterling Shepard's just a bit old. And then you also have Kate Otten. So that sucks for them. Fortunately, Baker Mayfield plays well no matter what. But that it is tough. They just need to now plan around not having a lot of wide receivers. Start leaning to Baker more. But in general, it was a great win for Detroit. Just a lot of punts.
Yeah, I mean, just a quick thing to add too. A lot of punts, and then in the fourth quarter, there were 3 turnovers on downs on the Buccaneers. So this, again, even though they were putting up yards, like this defense, just every time they needed to come and make a play, they were. And I think it's a sign of an elite team, or just a well-coached team too, when you can take literal people off the couch, people on the practice squad, and come in and be like, this secondary is looking better than the secondary we had before. I'm not saying that would stay the same and they're not starter quality, but our defensive coordinator knew what to do to win this game. And even though it's the whole of, oh well, the Buccaneers were missing their top receivers, it's like, okay, well, the Lions were missing their entire secondary. So you
Yeah,
think
yeah, literally, yeah.
at that point, it's like, I feel like it's even, and it comes down to the coaching. But
Like I said before, good teams find ways to win, and that's what you guys did. So, but enough of that. We'll go ahead and move on to this last Monday night game. From what I know, and I was keeping close eye on it because I had a little money on it. This is the Seattle Seahawks versus the Houston Texans. 27-19 does not reflect the real score. They had a Will Anderson fumble recovery, insane defensive play that they ended up going for two. Obviously, did not get it. Otherwise, this was all Seattle. It was they. I had the bet I was talking about is I had Kyami Fairburn making 2 field goals, and then their punter punting 4 times. Obviously, by the way, don't bet if you have no money. This is money I had to spend. I had the availability to do it. It's not money that was needed for like bills or something. I'm doing this for fun. So if you guys aren't in a position to do that, please don't bet. But let me tell you what, if you're gonna betting on the Texans special teams is a good bet. Because I've done it twice now and I make money off of it. So good for the special teams, bad for every other aspect of the ball outside of Will Anderson. Seattle showing that they are Super Bowl contenders as well. I think there's really only 2 good teams that have shown that they're like good, and that's really like Seattle and Indianapolis. So we'll see how they go for the rest of the year. It could still easily fall back down where they're not considered good anymore because the top of the top is really close together and the bottom of the bottom is really close together. There's not really like there's like a purgatory from the mid teams, but good for Seattle.
yeah, I mean, it just kind of feels like the Texans each year are falling off a little bit because 2 years ago, they were the scrappy underdog team that was struggling at the first, and then it clicked, and they won a playoff game. CJ Stroud was looking elite. Last year, still won a playoff game, but CJ Stroud and the offense kind of not looking very good. And then this year, they still have a really good defense, but their offense is just completely anemic. Like I just don't feel like I wouldn't trust them. Like just the whole thought experiment of, oh, it's 3rd and 5. You're on their 15-yard line. You need to convert. You need to convert a first down to get a touchdown. There's 30 seconds on the clock. Which offense do you trust to do that? I don't trust the Texans at all. Even though it's like, oh, you get two yards on it, you have a 4th down. Obviously, you're going for it. It's like, I still don't trust them. I don't think they'd be able to do it. And I mean, that's it. I just feel like, again, the Seahawks have a very good defense. Sam Darnold's playing good enough that they're doing well. But that should wrap up what we have for our recap this week. And we do have a little educational segment for you guys this week. And just a bye week last week, we're back with this. We're both going to go through a formation again, and we're going to provide you guys some clips to just give a visual of what we're talking about. None of it is super hard. I especially think with formations, it's pretty easy to explain. But I'll just, I'll dive right into mine. So we know that the nickel defense, which is when you have 5 defensive backs on the field, but there's also something called the dime defense. And the reason it's called the dime is, nickel is you add a 5th guy, and the dime is, double nickel, which is, I know it's not double in terms of personnel, but it's the double the additional safe, like defensive backs that you have. So it's 6. And they're main purpose is entirely to stop the pass. And so normally, they line up with four defensive backs, which is two corners, two safeties. But this one, it's, two safeties, four corners, or 3 and 3, or 2 and 4. Essentially, it's not that crazy. Just basically, you have six DBs out there. And this shows up for obvious passing situations. So we're thinking 3rd and 20, a a critical play. Hail Mary is a little bit different, but
like a 4th and 10.
Yeah, like a 4th and 10, just something where they have to pass it, but it kind of is a high risk, high reward, especially because if for some reason the team is able to pull off a play like running, these defensive backs they're going way, like they're trying to prevent that large play from happening. So they're running with the receivers, they're getting out there, they're moving back. They're stretching their defensive coverage out to the back part and kind of leaving that line, usually just as one linebacker, because 6 and 5, so one linebacker, four defensive linemen. It's leaving that whole close part, middle part of the field very open, and so they either have to throw very deep, and if they can get lucky, it could work. Keeps everything in front of you, but they can pull off the run, make it work. They could go 15-20 yards. So high risk, high reward. It's not really high risk when, like we said, 3rd and 20, 4th and 10. Those they're gonna pass for it. But if for some reason you're trying to call a bluff, maybe you have a disguised play, linebackers go back into the secondary to serve as defensive backs to kind of do that job for them. That could blow up for them. So that's what a dime is. It's not anything that's super hard to understand. It's just kind of more about when it is used, why it's used, and kind of what the pros and cons are.
I love a good defensive scheme. But for me, this is not a defensive scheme. I'm doing an offensive scheme, but it's not your normal offensive scheme. This is the wildcat formation. Many of you probably learn about the wildcat pretty quickly because it's so bizarre, but it's so fun. The how the players line up is not really super important. You're gonna have your main offensive line. Chances are your running back's gonna line up in the backfield anyways. But it really, the parts that you're looking for are wide receivers and running backs, and where the quarterback is. Sometimes he's not even on the field. Sometimes sometimes he's lined up as a wide receiver. Sometimes it's just like a wide receiver or a running back comes in and takes place of the quarterback. But a thing that they often call a direct snap, even though all snaps are technically direct, but the direct snap is reference to the ball going to, like, immediately without the quarterback touching it, a hand of a non-quarterback player. This is often the running back. Hopefully I'll put you'll see Derrick Henry take the ball here, and he's gonna, I believe, throw it, which is something he could do. As long as you don't do a forward pass, anybody can throw the ball forward. The quarterback, or I guess the running back, they'll usually throw quick run plays or pass plays, and then they'll also run the ball. It's like they'll catch the ball and they'll just start running. You see that a lot with I believe Taysom Hill. He's a popular guy who you can see in RPOs a lot. But you can also see any player line up like that. There has been a defensive lineman, Dontari Poe, who has caught a ball and thrown it like that. This kind of thing is usually used every so often, pretty rarely, to be honest with you, because it confuses the defense. But if you do it too much, it's going to become easily predictable. In the sense with Dontari Poe, they thought that he was going to run the ball, but instead he stops right before he makes contact and he just lobs it to a guy wide open, and it worked perfectly. It actually happened twice. These things are usually often called trick plays because you're trying to be tricky. Sometimes you'll see the quarterback motion out from where he's standing, and try to run over to the side. I think Jared Goff did this a couple games ago. And then you're just, you're trying to mess everything up. There was some weird trickery going on, I think, in the Houston game, I want to say, where they were lining up to try to make somebody jump off sides, but they were in some stupid formation. But yeah, this is usually you'll see like RPOs coming out of this. That's run pass options where in a split second you'll try to like decide which one, but you don't see that too often because it's a quarterback thing. But you also see read option run plays where the quarterback fakes it. It's a Taysom Hill thing right there, or it's just like a slant or just a run on the inside. Yeah, that's pretty much the wildcat formation. It's very simple. Most people probably know what we're talking about. You'll probably even see it if you don't even watch NFL that much, because it's a very popular thing that happens. People love it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So not too heavy on the load for you guys, for either of us. You get off lightly here. Some simple, fun offensive plays and some real heavy education on the defensive side. But yeah, without further ado here, we can just go ahead and move on to our predictions for the week.
Predictions this week. Let's go.
This is week 8.
Already like almost halfway through the season right now.
Yeah, which is kind of crazy. I think the trade deadline's coming up this week as well.
Yeah.
So you're gonna see some teams shift up, but at the same time, you're also not gonna see 6 teams, because they have byes. That's the Jaguars, Raiders, Lions, Cardinals, Rams, and Seahawks. Unfortunate for those teams, and that includes you. No football for you guys this week. This is
can't lose on a bye week.
Season. That's a lie. If all the Falcons lost on their bye week because in a tight race, all of the teams won in our division, and we stayed the same. So that bye week is really messing us up in the standings. But one could hope. But yeah, we'll just go ahead and rip off the AFC games. First game coming off of a mini bye is the Cincinnati Bengals versus the New York Jets. You all know how I feel, and Ben as well. This is a Bengals win. Jets are 0-7. They will continue that fall.
Yeah, I completely agree with Michael. I just don't think the Jets are in a position to win any games right now, especially with the Bengals gaining some momentum. Surprisingly, they're still not out of the playoff race. Starting with two wins does a lot for your team. And so I think they'll improve to 4-4. And for the next game with the Browns versus the Patriots, I do think this game might actually be closer than a lot of people think. The Browns defense is still playing out of their mind. But I just think, again, when it comes to a game where I'm like, okay, clearly the Browns have an elite defense. Patriots, it's kind of hard to tell right now just because of the caliber of teams they're playing. But I think which quarterback do I think can make the plays regardless of the defense. And I just think Drake May is balling out. I think the Patriots win this one.
This is a very clear Patriots win, in my opinion, because one, they're at home. Like you said, their offense is playing pretty decent. And the Browns' offense is not. Their defense is playing, decent, and their offense is playing decent. Sorry, and their defense is playing phenomenally. So, because it's at home, that kind of nullifies like that pressure that defense is going to put on them. So I'm taking the Patriots easy here. This next game is the Indianapolis Colts versus the Tennessee Titans. Dude, no question. This is like we were talking about earlier when we were talking about our recap. You can compare good teams versus bad teams, and you just know there's no way the Titans are winning this one. Not with the way the Colts are playing. It would be kind of funny if they did, though. Not gonna lie to you. But this is gonna have the Colts rising to 7-1, and the Titans falling to 1-7.
I completely agree with that. I don't see any reason why the Titans win this game. Going on to our AFC versus NFC games. Um, for Vikings versus Chargers, I do think that the Chargers get a win here. I did see JJ McCarthy might be coming back, but I think you also just told me Carson Wentz might have won himself the starting job. And I think just again with quarterbacks, Justin Herbert is much better. And even though the Chargers are slipping a little bit, I think they're able to get some momentum back on their side with a win at home on Thursday night.
This is gonna be a bit better than people think, just because um it seems like the Chargers offense isn't playing well against good defenses. Um and you know, JJ McCarthy might be coming back, but I don't know for sure if Carson Wentz has won it either. I just thought he should have been back by now. But I do remember them saying till week 8, so or at least at the end of the range. But I am also going to take the Chargers here. I just don't. I see them needing to reestablish themselves here, especially after what happened last week. So it's pretty easy for me to take the Chargers here, especially being at home. Justin Herbert usually plays well in prime time, and I think they're wearing these like insane like bright yellow uniforms. So I'm gonna take Los Angeles here. This next game is going to be the Houston Texans versus San Francisco 49ers. They're going to be in Houston. Doesn't really matter. I don't. I think Houston or Nico Collins was said to miss this game as well. So they're going to be down a wide receiver on a struggling offense. Not very good. And obviously the 49ers play very well. I learned that firsthand. Christian McCaffrey is still on that team. So I am going to take the 49ers.
I agree. I just think even though the 49ers are injured, they're so much better coached. They seem to understand how their offense works. And even if it's Mac Jones or if it's Brock Purdy, I trust them more than CJ Stroud and what they're doing there. Going on to the next game, the Bills are going to be coming off a bye week in Carolina. I do think that they are looking for a revenge game. And, we'll see because Carolina was able to put up a lot of points on Dallas. And Dallas reminds me a little bit of the Bills in the sense of the Bills have a good offense, but their defense is suspect. And so this could be a sneaky good game. I do anticipate the Bills come in and win. Just they really needed to get a win and kind of turn that momentum around again. I know I talk about that a lot, but I don't see a lot. I don't really see how a Bryce Young led Panthers team beats the Josh Allen led Bills team.
Yeah, this is coming, like you said, coming off of a bye. The last game they played was a thrashing against the Falcons. Praise be. Even though they're away, I mean they've had 2 weeks to prepare for the Carolina Panthers. They're not a team where it's very difficult to, game plan around. They're really kind of one dimensional, especially now that Chuba Hubbard is back and Dave Canales said that they're not going to be splitting touches super well. So I am going to take the Bills away here as well. They're not going to let what the Falcons did to them happen to the Panthers. So yeah, Buffalo Bills take the dub here. Moving on to this next game, my Atlanta Falcons at home against the Miami Dolphins. Dolphins are in a storm. There's a good chance a lot of key pieces are not going to be on the team after this week. I don't know. I think the deadline is next Tuesday. I could since it's Wednesday already, I don't think they're gonna be trading anybody this week, but you can easily see it over the weekend or Monday, Tuesday, whatever. But just in general, we're not gonna. Hopefully, we're gonna become like a team, that learns from its mistakes, and you come against an easy team here. We have to, assert what we're doing. Though Michael Penix is questionable. I think he had He gained like a
Kirko
foot
Chains,
bruise.
Kirko Chains, put him in.
There's honestly like a good chance that Kirk plays because um, it's a bone bruise in his arm and a knee something with his knee. So there's two things wrong with him. You know, he does have injury history in college, tore his ACL twice. Um, so I'm really hoping that he does get to play because it'd be a good rep game for him. But if he was to miss a game on our schedule for the next like 5 weeks, this is the game that he should miss. Doesn't really matter who starts. Our team is good enough to beat the Miami Dolphins, even though you have, you know, a backup or whatever. So easy Atlanta win. It should be.
Yeah. I do think I will be taking the Falcons here. I don't think whoever starts at quarterback really matters. Miami's defense is really bad, and I think they have a terrible running defense. So just if you can pass the ball off to Bijan, I think you'll be able to win this game.
Bijan.
But I will say, I just worry about this team in the sense of what Falcons team are we going to see on the field? Do we see the Falcons team that got blown up by the Panthers and was shut out? Or do we see the Falcons team that destroyed the undefeated Bills? Maybe they weren't undefeated at that point, but still, the Buffalo Bills. And Miami is not a good team, and so even in that case, I still think they would win if they don't play on their A game. But I still have concerns about this team on just like what Michael was saying. Are they going to learn from their mistakes? Is the coaching going to have a good game plan? Are they going to abandon the run? Because to me, it's unless you're truly getting blown out, why on earth are you going to abandon the run when you have probably the best running back in the entire league? And no, there's no reason you should give up the run unless you're down 3 scores and you have like 15 minutes to try and get back in the game. So
Take the words right out of my mouth, baby.
I just think
I could kiss you right now.
I'll take the Falcons because I want to believe, but I think this could be a trap game, and I think the Falcons will come out on top of this. But it doesn't matter if Michael Penis plays or Captain Kirk plays. This team needs to be consistent, and they need to find their identity. Going to the next game, which is the Bears versus the Ravens. I think that the Ravens will win this game. I know they're 1-5. They're coming off a bye week. Lamar Jackson might be playing. It entirely depends on if Lamar Jackson plays or not. I'm going to just, in this prediction, anticipate he does. And if he does, I think that the Ravens are going to come out and just, I mean, they need a win. They're too good to drop to 1-6. But Lamar Jackson is out. I do see the Bears winning.
I mean, you bring up a great point. This really does depend on Lamar Jackson. So I'm not even gonna lie to you. What Lamar Jackson looks like in fantasy football does vital. He is questionable, so there's that. He did play today at practice, but it was limited. We'll probably learn more about it on Friday. But it is great to see back and practicing. So it also it does depend on, you know, if he's rushed to go out there and he just doesn't look the same. I could easily honestly see the Bears kind of pulling something out because I mean a team how the Ravens are built, especially with Derrick Henry not doing what he normally does. It takes a master class of a quarterback to really lead it as efficiently as it normally is. And, you know, that's because of how much of a threat Lamar Jackson is. So I think the safe pick for me, honestly, is going to be the Chicago Bears. Unless Lamar Jackson is, like, legitimately just good to go. He's fully healthy. I don't see the Ravens really taking this one out. Even if he does play, it'll probably be ugly. He hasn't played since the beginning of the year. So, you know, hopefully he can come back and everything will be all right. But, you know, in general, I think the Bears might take this one. Yeah, coming off this next game, Denver Broncos versus the Dallas Cowboys. This one is a toss up. I'm not gonna lie. I can't tell if it's gonna be a low scoring game or if it's gonna be a high scoring game. These are probably not low scoring. It'll probably be a bit high scoring, which kind of leads me to take Dallas just because I know Denver can hold Dallas to less points than they normally score, but can Denver score enough to keep up with Dallas? Is the question. I don't think so. Honestly, I think you know props to them from last week, but that was kind of a fluke compared to the rest of their year. They're not really doing stuff like that. Their offense is stagnant. So I'm just gonna take Dallas here. I think they're just gonna outscore.
Yeah, I agree with Michael on this one. Um, I just again like I see it with the Cowboys have probably the best offense in the league right now. And I know Denver has a decent defense, but they haven't been playing very good. They just let the Giants put 32 points on them. And I don't trust the Denver offense at all. And I know Dallas has a very bad defense, so this has a possibility of being kind of a shootout. But I'm gonna take Dallas here, especially like if it comes down to a field goal. I trust Dallas wholeheartedly. They have the best kicker in the league with Brandon Aubrey. Um, Going to the next game, we have Green Bay at Pittsburgh. And honestly, I'm taking Pittsburgh here because I just feel like the Packers haven't really been playing legitimate legitimate teams. Yeah, they beat the Cardinals. Um they've beaten we have to just look at who they're playing.
They haven't beaten
They,
nobody
they
legitimate. I don't
I mean,
think.
yeah, they beat so this is how they blew out the Lions, they blew out the Commanders, they lost to the Browns, they tied with the Cowboys, they almost let the Bengals come back and beat them with Joe Flacco being on their team for 3 days, almost lose to the Cardinals. I don't see how they can come in and win against a team like Pittsburgh, which the defense is clicking. Aaron Rodgers is playing out of his mind for his age, especially. He has motivation to win this game. I just don't really see how um, Green Bay squeaks this one out, especially with how they've been playing these last few weeks.
Yeah, dude. I thought I was gonna be the one to be like hot take, but I guess not. I guess not. I'm taking Pittsburgh as well. Aaron Rodgers is the person who would easily be petty and just try to play as hard as he could against his former team, and the head coach I think he had beef with, but like Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers have been playing well these past 2 weeks, I believe. Um, and it's not like Green Bay has been a stopping defense. They just kind of come up when it's needed. Um, but I have a feeling it's going to be needed a lot. No defense is that good. So I think coming off the mini bye, the Steelers take this W. Um, this next game is the Monday night game. It's going to be between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Washington Commanders with Rashee Rice now back, an actually decent wide receiver with yards after catch possibilities. Um, I just don't think Washington's old ass defense is going to be able to contain that. If they only threw to Travis Kelsey, that's a different story. But especially if you get Xavier Worthy back, I think he hurt his shoulder last game. Those two will easily outrun and completely tire the Washington. So I'm going to take Kansas City at home, especially with how good they're playing on offense. Easy win.
Yeah, I agree. I think especially with Jaden Daniels out, I don't really see a way that Washington wins. I don't have anything else to add. I plainly see Kansas City dominating in this game. Going to the NFC, we have a rematch from a few weeks ago of the Giants versus the Eagles. I'm actually surprised they're playing again this soon. I do think the Eagles win this one. I know the Giants won the last time, but it's hard to beat a team twice in a season, as we all know with divisional games. Like there's a reason why even the worst team in the league can still beat the best team in their division. Not saying it happens a lot, but it's possible. But it's hard to do that twice when you clearly have the talent deficit, and when the coaching is not good with New York, and it seems like the Eagles have the talent to bail themselves out in games, I do think the Eagles will handily win this one.
Yeah, yeah. I was literally gonna say, you know, division rivals don't often get swept, especially when you're the worst out of the division rival. Um, so it's based on history, it's especially being in Philly, it's just gonna be Philly. It is what it is. Maybe this will put the bull on the, or however you say his fucking name. However you say, yeah, Dable. However you say his name. Um, he might get put on the hot seat. Who knows? Um, yeah, Eagles win this one pretty easily, to be honest with you. This next game, this pains me to say it, but I just, for some reason, whenever Tampa plays in New Orleans, they do not play well. Baker Mayfield, um, I think in the past 5 games he's played against the Saints, he's thrown 7 interceptions. Not that I just think it's going to be an ugly game, but I'm going to take New Orleans. Which, that's evil against my soul, but I like to try to be as real as possible, with a little bias sprinkled in there. But even bias can't hide the fact that this is the true trap game of the week. And I can see New Orleans taking it and running with it.
You do bring up a good point. Tampa doesn't play well in New Orleans, but my opinion, I still think Tampa's the better team. I think they'll be able to bounce back, win this game. But like you said, this could be a surprisingly good game. And just like any divisional game, I'm never surprised when the other team wins. So, maybe we're choosing differently on this one, but I still think that the Buccaneers win.
There we go. I think
Yeah,
we disagreed on 2 different ones.
very good. That takes us to our final segment of today's episode, which is just a quick fantasy recap. I'm happy to start. I actually won this week. I put up 150 points. My opponent put up 147. So I'm very lucky that I was able to win this week because I missed that my kicker was injured. So that could have cost me. You discount kickers, but they're very important. People forget about that. But Matthew Stafford, 5 touchdowns. Bijan Robinson, 20 points. He's very consistent with doing that. David Montgomery didn't really do anything, but I kept A.J. Brown in this week, and he almost got me 30. Cortland Sutton, my mistake, 17 points. Trey McBride, 30 points. Ramondre Stevenson, 17 points. Broncos defense, 4. And then I had Brandon McManus, who was hurt, and he got me 0. How'd you do, Michael?
I also won this game. I was half a point off from getting 140, so you would have beat me if we played. I had Mike Evans in. He has goose eggs because he got injured, obviously. I also have AJ Brown with 28.1 and then T Higgins with 21.6, just routing on my bench. But it didn't really matter because my opponent had a really poor showing from his team. So just the Chiefs 13 points, Tucker Kraft 16, Jackson Smith and Jigba 26, Bijan 21, Williams 18, Herbert 24, gets me up there. I blew the water. He scored 77.5. So huge victory for me. It didn't even matter that Mike Evans scored no points, which I love to see that because that means I'm the GOAT. And I had some wrong picks in. So that even shows you more to how strong my team is, which is good. I'm 5-2 in both of my leagues.
Yeah, Michael and I in the league we're in together, we're tied for second place right now. I think I'm technically, because we beat head to head, but we're going to have a rematch at some point. And so, Michael and I are in contention for winning this league, which is exciting. I think that wraps up our episode for this week. Thank you as always. If you're still watching at this point, we really appreciate you. We see you.
I see you.
Yeah, I see you. We do this for fun, and we hope you also enjoy it. Please consider liking and subscribing if you're new, and if not, thank you again for watching.
Yes, thank you all for watching. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, night, evening, whenever. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.